All right, guys. Tonight's notes is entitled Three Colonial Regions Specialization and Interdependence. So, the colonies in the New World, the English colonies in the New World as they formed, really can be subdivided into three distinct regions. Geography is going to have a big role in how we define these regions, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it's important to understand that each of these three regions specialized in different skills and products, and each region depended on the others to get all of what they needed. So we're going to be looking at the role of specialization, how each region specializes in different skills and products, and interdependence, how each region depended on the other regions to get all of what they needed. Specialization and interdependence. So let's start by defining our terms. We're going to start with some geography terms. The first is natural resources. Natural resources are useful items that come directly from nature. So some examples of natural resources could be timber or gold or fertile soil. Another type of resource is a human resources. Humans are people. So human resources are people who produce goods and services. Next term is specialization, which is focusing on making only one or a few products. So each region will specialize in just a few products. And then our final term is interdependence, when two or more regions rely on each other for goods and services. So we'll see that because each region specializes something specific or a few specific products, they are going to be interdependent or going to depend on the work of some of the other regions to make sure that they have everything that they need. So we're going to break down each colony one by one, starting with the New England colonies. The New England colonies had several natural resources that set them apart. First of all, they had a large amount of lumber, they had fish, and they had deep harbors. So when you think about lumber, fish, deep harbors, you're going to think a lot about shipping. Shipping is going to be a very big economic activity in New England. Next thing we want to look at is what their human resources were. So in New England, they had lots of skilled craftsmen, they had lots of shopkeepers, and lots of shipbuilders. So the New England colonies will specialize in producing things like fish, ships, metal tools, and equipment. However, they're going to depend on things from other colonies. So what did they get from the other colonies? Well, they're going to get things like tobacco, rice, and cotton from the southern colonies, and things like livestock, wheat, and grain from the middle colonies. So you see how they're specializing in certain goods, but you can't survive on just fish, ships, and metal tools and equipment. You need other things as an economy to survive. So they'll get those things from the southern colonies and the middle colonies. Next, we're going to look at the middle colonies. The middle colonies had different resources from New England. They had fertile farmland, they had lots of rivers, and they did have fish, just like New England. So their human resources are going to be things like skilled and unskilled workers. They're going to include farmers and as well as fishermen. So the middle colonies are going to specialize and produce things like fish, producing livestock, so that includes like cattle, goats, as well as grain. So what are the middle colonies going to get from other colonies? They're going to get tobacco, rice, and cotton from the southern colonies, as well as metal tools and equipment from the New England colonies. So you can think the middle colonies, if you have a farm in the middle colonies that produces livestock, you're going to need to get some rice for feed for that livestock from the south, as well as metal tools like a plow from New England to work that farm. So you can see how their specialization requires some interdependence with the other colonies. And the last group of colonies we're discussing are the southern colonies. The southern colonies, their natural resources were fertile farmland, rivers, and harbors. Their human resources were farmers as well as enslaved Africans. So using these resources, what did the southern colonies specialize in producing? Well, we should know by now tobacco is going to be a big one, but we're also going to see lots of rice, indigo, and cotton developing plantations in the southern colonies. So what did they get from the other colonies? Well, they got livestock, grain, and other crops from the middle colonies. And then they also got metal tools and equipment from New England. So you can see if you are a tobacco plantation, you need to get things like livestock and grain from the middle colonies to be able to survive. And you're going to need metal tools to harvest that tobacco crop from New England. Again, seeing that specialization in these cash crops of tobacco, rice, indigo, and cotton, and interdependence, needing things from the middle and New England colonies. So this leads to our response questions tonight. First question, how did the environment in each region lead to specialization? And then our second question is, how did specialization lead to interdependence between the regions? Go ahead and try and answer those questions as best you can based on what you've seen so far, and make sure you print your homework before you come to class.